Combs is with us. Luke, very good morning to you.
Likewise, bud. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Let me catch up from last time because we didn't talk when you were last here, but you went, I am told, hunting and you went to see the All Blacks. Talk me through the hunting first of all. How was it?
I did, man. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We were in the South Island, and man, it was just really, really beautiful down there. Never seen anything quite like it, to be honest. Had so much fun. That was at the beginning of our tour. We hadn't even played a show yet, so we kind of went and did that. We did that first, and it was, gosh, man, it was so much fun. We had such a great time doing that.
And your rugby experience, what position did you play and how good were you?
I was a 1 and a 3. So 1 or 3, depending on the game, to be honest. I was not bad. I wasn't great. You know, I wouldn't have made the All Blacks by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoyed it, man. I like to hit people.
Fair enough. I listening to your SEC song. How big a football, and when we say football, we mean NFL now, or for SEC purposes, right. College. I've been listening to the SEC song. That's brilliant. How did that come about?
Yeah, you talking about the Petty?
Yeah,
Tom Petty,
yeah,
the new one.
Yeah.
That came about through, when they were putting that whole project together. They reached out to me to be a part of that, and my mom is a massive Petty fan, right? I am, of course, by proxy. So that was always playing in our house growing up, and when you're 8 or 9 years old, you're like, turn the shit off. Like, I don't want to hear it. So it's whatever, anything your parents listen to is not cool when you're 8 or 9 years old, and then after hearing it so many times, you kind of fall in love with it. And obviously couldn't love Petty anymore than I do now, right? So I jumped at the opportunity. Yeah, man, it was easy. It was fun. It was it was a really cool thing to be a part of, and to get to tell my mom I was going to do that. I think she was really excited about that, and it was fun, man. It was a fun experience.
Fantastic. I want to talk about your journey in a moment, but the other thing I noticed on your social the other day, you were at the Bengals practice. This once again is NFL. I had you as a Panthers fan. Are you not a Panthers fan? And as being a Panthers fan, you can't turn up at the Bengals practice.
Oh man, I'm a huge Panthers fan. For better or worse, we're the worst team in the NFL as of right now. So I'm a diehard Panthers fan. But we play, over here in the States, we play NFL State, right? So as the tour started getting towards the end here, we just finished it up last weekend. But as the tour kind of finished up, that starting to get into the beginning of the NFL season. So they were actually just having practice, like just a regular practice. So we were up there to play 2 shows in their stadium. So that was something we did, and we do that a lot. If teams are practicing or whatever, I try to take some folks over and watch it. It's just something that not everybody gets to go to, and not everybody gets to experience. So it was cool, man. It's cool getting to go do that.
That's what I want to talk to you about, your journey. At what point, or are you still in it, where you're talking to Jamar Chase, who, if you're an NFL fan, is as big as it gets, and you're not right. Thinking, how lucky is this? How cool is all of this that I just get to wander in and do this stuff?
I definitely think about that anytime we get to do anything, right? Like whether it's go to a baseball game or go to a football practice or go to the Grammys, I'm always kind of aware of, how insanely unusual it is to get to do those things on a regular basis. And so it's never lost on me. I think you get accustomed to anything, right? Like it kind of become your normal of like, okay, well, we have access to this or to that. And I think as long as that doesn't, change you as a person, I think that there's nothing wrong with it, right? I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just lucky. I got really lucky. I have a really cool job. Yes, I work really hard at it, but there's a ton of luck involved as well. And I understand that as good as anybody, right? It can be taken away as soon as it can be given, right? So I just try to appreciate, every opportunity that I have to do something special. And I also try to have those opportunities and moments with people that I care about and share those moments with them, because none of it would be fun to do by yourself, right? I think doing it with friends and with family is what makes it even more special.
What do you make of this journey? And tell me how much of this is true. You seem to me to be, I moved to Nashville, I got discovered, I became the biggest thing in the world. There has to be more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the really boiled down, that's the chicken broth version of, of the story, I guess. That's the children's book version of the story, I guess. But yeah, I'm 34 now. So 13 years ago, I taught myself how to play guitar as a kid who was failing out of college. I think you guys, university probably is what you guys call it over there. So kind of in the process of not doing very well in school there, and I really enjoyed my time at school, but I didn't enjoy the school part very much. It was kind of everything that came with it. But that being the rugby and the weekends and stuff like that was always some of my favorites. But I've been singing my whole life, so it just kind of made sense. I always enjoyed singing, and I never really considered it to be anything other than a hobby, right? It was just something that I loved to do and something that I felt like I was good at. And I don't know how it never dawned on me until I picked the guitar up, like, man, I could really, maybe there's a chance that this could be what my life is going to be like, and once I figured that out, once I stumbled upon that, I just had, I had horse blinders on, man. Like that was just what I was going to do, and nobody was going to stop me from doing it, and it wasn't that I was ever going to be in the situation that I am now. I think you'd be crazy to believe that. I think anybody would be crazy to believe that. I think you have to be a little bit crazy to make it to this point, to be completely honest. But I knew for sure that I could live a happy life and make a living and pay my bills, right? Whether that was a 1-bedroom apartment, as long as when it rained, I didn't get wet. And, if I was sleeping, that would have been enough for me. Everything else was always extra. So I never put any pressure on myself to be a certain way or achieve certain things, because anything beyond just being able to be happy and have a good life was always more than I had ever asked for. So to have ended up here is an insane blessing, and, a 1 in a billion chance. Right. So yeah, man, I never take it for granted. But yeah, it's more complicated than moved to Nashville, and nobody. I didn't walk in the door at some place and went, God dang, look at this good looking son of a bitch. Nobody, that didn't happen. I promise. I promise you that didn't.
I've been a country music fan my entire life, right? So Willie Nelson and Nancy Griffith and all those sort of things. Country music, Emmylou Harris. Yes, they've been popular, but it's never been your popular. It's not stadium popular. Encapsulate for us what you've been able to do and how you've been able to do it and why it's been that way.
Gosh, man, I always tell people if I knew the real answer to that, I would be selling that instead of doing what I'm doing, but I think it has something to do with, one, the genre is as big as it's ever been right now. Okay. So there's no doubt in that sense that it's more popular than it's ever been. I don't necessarily think that has anything to do with me in particular. I think I'm the lucky guy that's happens to be existing as a country singer at the time where the genre is at kind of its peak that it's ever been at. And kind of just really continuing to grow, to be honest. So I think there's some element of that, but it's a lot of intent too, right? Like the way we've toured for the last 7 or 8 years has always been, it was intentional. We've been to Australia 3 or 4 times. We've been to, and we just went to New Zealand for the first time last year, and so we've always been intentional about wanting to, we look at, we don't look at Australia, New Zealand, or Europe or Canada as, oh man, it'd be cool to go there and play one show one time. You know what I mean? Like we looked at it from the beginning as, how do we make this a place that people will want us to come back to for as long as we want to go back, right? And so there was always intent in touring, and I think that's really important. I think having really long-term goals is really, really important, because you don't get to where we've ended up now on accident, as far as the being able to do the big shows and being able to go overseas and being able to do big shows overseas. It was all very, very, very intentional.
Which is a great answer, because my next question is, this album of yours, Fathers and Sons, I go back to the previous album, Take You With Me, which is one of my favorite songs. That's got a little bit of that in the Fathers and Sons, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So musically, where do you head? And is that as sophisticated as the intentionality of what you were talking about in touring, or are you a true creative and it just comes to you?
Yeah, I think there's no intent album to album. At least from the jump, there was no, grand vision of what, my fifth album would be or whatever it looks like. It's more like, as each album comes along, it's, I want to progress and I want to grow, whether that's lyrically or musically or, subject wise. It always dawns on me. I always end up having a light bulb moment. And, the moment for the last record was, I was in the studio this past January, and I was recording some stuff for what I thought would be my next record. And the songs I thought were really good. And, we got in there and recorded about 5 or 6 tunes, and I never got that feeling, like that, whatever that feeling is really important to me. I'm a big believer in, if you don't have that magic or that feeling that you're doing something important or something special, if you don't have that in the studio, it's not going to translate in the record, and that, who knows if that's even true or not. Maybe you could go in there and make but the best songs have been written in Nashville in the last 2 years, and it would be the best record of all time. I don't know the answer to that question. But to me personally, I have to be passionate about being in there. I have to be excited about the songs. I have to be excited about the process, and I wasn't feeling it. And so I had to take a step back, and I had 2 or 3 of these dad songs that I really liked. And I was kind of like, well, what songs, you can't put, a bunch of dad songs on a record, and what am I going to do? And then it dawned on me, well, like, what if the whole album is just that, right? Like, that's the whole that's the whole idea of the whole record. It's not just another record with 4 or 5 dad songs on it and 5 or 6 other songs. And so we recorded this album live on the floor in 2 days. And my parents were there, and a couple of friends of ours were there, and it was almost like a little concert in the studio. So we had me and the studio musicians, and then 8 or 10 people on the other side of the camera that you can't see. And we just ran each song down twice and picked the best take. And now obviously some of the best freaking musicians in the world are, backing me up. So we were too worried about people messing up. I think I was the only person that they were worried was going to mess it up. So, but it was really fun, man. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I really, really needed to do that for me. It was something that was exciting for me. And, I've always been a for better, for worse guy. I want to do, what I'm passionate about, whether that's, whether the label or whoever it may be agrees with my vision. I think that, those are tough conversations, but I think for me I just think people can see through when there's not passion involved, even if they don't realize that they can, right? Like, even if they don't know, they go, well, there's something about this song or this album that just they don't believe it, right? Like, they don't believe it because maybe the person singing it doesn't believe it. And not that, listen, dude, not that I'm the best artist of all time, because I promise you I'm not. You know what I mean? There's so many infinitely more talented people in my band than me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just, there is a lot of there, but I just believe in what I'm doing, and I believe in what we do, and I believe in my team and the guys that I write songs with. And, yeah, man, I'm just really lucky to get to do what I do. And I think that comes across in some way.
It does.
Through
Well, all I can say is I hope you're enjoying it, and what I want you to do is tell us you're coming back to New Zealand, because once is not enough, as I think you probably found out the first time around. So you need to make some arrangements around that and let us know when you're doing it.
Oh, absolutely, man. We're going to be back. We're going to be back ASAP as soon as we can. We're excited to get back over. Obviously, last time we were there, in Australia, it was the Women's World Cup was going on at that time, and you guys were gearing up for the Rugby World Cup to start, I think, maybe the month after we left. And so, we weren't able to get in any of the bigger venues. And so that was a little bit of a speed bump. So we had to do multiple nights in smaller venues, and there was still a ton of people that didn't get to come. I know that wanted to be there. And so we definitely want to get back as soon as we can and do some of those bigger shows for you guys over there.
Fantastic. Listen, a joy to meet and talk with you. Go well, enjoy, and let us know when you're coming, and we'll catch up then maybe.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Appreciate it, bud.
Good to talk to you. Take care.
See you, man. Yes, sir.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.